KC0 VI, Tom.
This is KD0 TLJ Joyce.
Blow doggies out of this one. It's too loud, too noisy.
Yep.
We are here at the Mitchell County Conservation Grounds. They have a little museum here, and we're here for Cedar Valley Memorial Days, I guess we call it. It's a steam power show.
Yep. In 25 years this year.
Yeah, we'll walk around here. There's a lot of neat old engines. This is one of those power shows that I always wanted to go to. I never had time, and normally it is hotter than and muggy for in August. I mean, this weekend is absolutely gorgeous. 75 degrees for the high, low humidity. So we took the chance, came down here, and we're going to enjoy the day here. There's going to be pretty noisy. We'll do our best to get the audio down right. We'll walk around, shoot a lot of stuff, and make sure you make comments down below. I know there's another big steam power show coming up here after this one. Is it
Charles City?
Yeah, Charles City's coming up in a few weeks, and there's also one down by the Waterloo area. These are getting really more popular. A lot of guys are finding these old steam engines at farm auctions, rebuilding them, refurbishing them, taking them back to days when they're new, and it's pretty interesting.
It's really cool.
You got to remember, this is how they operated everything on the farm before rural electrification. So let's walk around and see what we can see.
Enjoy.
Stop in this little display booth. They got some pictures and barcodes if you want to donate to continue the restoration of some of the buildings they got planned for and continue the ones they're currently working on. Just a way to kind of preserve the past so people can see how it used to be. Do a quick shot here of we're in the old railroad depot, which they've kind of gone through and restored, and a little work in progress here. Kind of pan around at some of the displays, static pictures. Well, here's got a gorgeous like bay window. This is one of the back rooms of the railroad depot that's used to store some of the artifacts for future restoration. This was a one-room schoolhouse located south of Osage. When the school was no longer needed, it was purchased by a local farmer who turned it into a hired hand house so his family could be with him on the farm. Pretty nice small unit. This area had some engines that are actually operating and doing some farm chores at that time frame. The gentleman in the white shirt there was very knowledgeable of the operation of the machines. There's an example here of shucking the corn, another one of cracking the corn. He was explaining to me how the systems operate. That little glass jar is the oiler lubricating the gears and the bearings. The opening is actually a water reservoir to keep the engine cool. He was going into some real good detail on how the governor, the ignition system, and the throttle worked. I was trying to record him, but the engines are so noisy it was hard to get a good recording of them. You got to remember, these engines had to be designed and manufactured for durability but ease of maintenance, because the farmer wouldn't want doing a lot of the maintenance. Here we got an example of pumping water out of your well. This machine's in static mode. It's kind of nice. You get up there real close, take a look at everything. I was a little leery about the ones that are operating, trying to get a good shot or get in close, take a look at them. We got another example here of cracking the corn, and the one next to it is a corn shucker. If you watch some of these openings with water, you can actually see steam rising out there as the hot water gets, rise into the surface. This engine is coupled to a generator to generate electricity for a job site or a farmstead. This engine was used to irrigate crops north of Osage. As you can see, it can blow a perfectly good smoke ring once in a while. It was started up in late May, ran through the whole month of June, July, and into August, depending on the amount of rainfall they had that summer. It was a low volume, constant supply of water into the fields. If you got close enough to this engine, you could actually feel the ground vibrate a little bit. It was even always on a cement slab. In this display, this little engine, again, gasoline driven, water cooled, kind of neat little setup, had this long belt that went to the side of the shed on a pulley. Inside there was another wheel with a belt that ran up to the shaft that ran down the length of the building that had pulleys on certain sections of the shaft. Then you would hook a belt up, come down to your wood lathe or other devices, drill press or saw, In this building, they have some lathes, threaders, another lathe, and back in there are sock machines. They actually will knit socks. We have a group of some engines just sitting here idling away, just demonstrating how they operate. This little green John Deere was actually doing a demonstration on this little well pump. Actually, it's self-contained, pumping water in the bottom, bringing it back up, but it's still fairly interesting. This big green one, I don't know what type of ignition system it had, but if you listen to the background audio, you can actually hear the spark getting into the audio of the camera. It ran a long belt to down to the side of this building where it was hooked up to the shaft. Then there were pulleys on the shaft that ran the sock knitting machine. Very interesting. We could have sat there all day with TLJ. She thought that was so cool. The Mitchell County Jail that was taken out in roughly 2000. Very small, very dark. Take a peek inside the 4 bunks. Hate to spend a weekend in here. Working on one of these large engines, you always had a hot meal. These guys have some steak sandwiches wrapped in tinfoil they set inside the engine to keep warm. Size comparison, TLJ is 5'3". You can see how large the machine is. At the lumber mill, here we have logs ready to go in the mill. They're set up on this little ramp to roll down. Ran through this buzz saw. They come off this buzz saw over here to get cut to another length. Then they're stacked on this wagon. Fresh cut rough lumber. Another very large steam engine. The crew is taking their lunch break, so we'll give them a little peace of mind, stay out of the way. They have a drop tank here for water to keep the system cool. We're on the drive side. We have a very long belt that runs down to this thrash machine where they're doing demonstrations earlier during the day. The grain crop is actually cut in the field and put into bundles and allowed to dry out there. Then a wagon comes by and picks up the dry bundles and bring them over to the thrash machine. You know, we'll come around the corner here. You'll see where the bundles are thrown on a conveyor belt and they're ran inside the machine, and the grain is removed from the husk and the stump. Just take a look at all the different belts on the side of this thing. Then the grain head is put into the wagon. They also had a flea market here on site. We're down here at one end of the flea market. I believe this is the south side. We'll walk down to the north side. Large selection of different items you could think of, hand tools, furniture, toys, models, up here on the north side looking down. And prices range from what I thought was extremely cheap to fairly new. Here's a display of some other steam engines that are waiting their turn for restoration, a little plaque that talks about them and request for donations or sponsor of the restoration. It was really interesting here walking through the show. We're going to have to come back here and just show you the museum on its own in a separate video because there's a lot of other stuff inside. I didn't want to take away from the power show with other stuff here on site. Really interesting. What do you think?
I thought it was very interesting, yeah. I can see why the old timers can't hear with all the old engines running.
A lot of those little engines, steam engines, are just powering away. I was going to have some of the guys presenting the equipment just kind of explain what was going on, but I had a hard time hearing them just standing next to them. And interesting, we got to move along here. I haven't had lunch yet, and pan over here, the Mitchell County Cattlemen group has set up a buffet, I guess. They got some steak sandwiches, ribeyes, hamburgers, and just stand over here downwind, unfortunately.
Oh, it smells really good.
It smells very good. So on that, we're going to close this out. Something a little neat to do next year when it comes around. 7-3, everybody. Have a safe summer.
7-3.
Be sure to tell your friends, neighbors, other hams. Subscribe, hit that bell to get notification when new videos come out. Add comments below. 7-3, everybody.